So Warner Brothers cannot catch a break these days, as this time they're blamed for, get this, Birds of Prey failing. That's right, we actually have people admitting that Birds of Prey failed, but, of course, it wasn't the direction, it wasn't the people behind the camera, no, of course, it was the studio's fault. So hey there to all you fine folks, by the way. Now this conversation, this comes to us from the playlist.net. This is with Kathy Yan. She's talking about her first film. This is important, by the way. Her first film, Dead Pigs, finally coming to the U.S., and the challenges of working on Birds of Prey. And you know what some of those challenges are? Well, number one, the studio, she says, but also this being her second movie. That's right, Warner Brothers gave her the reins on a blockbuster movie, not because she had experience. Oh no, because she threw around the right buzzwords, and it cost them dearly. The filmmaker also talked about the well-documented challenges she faced working on Birds of Prey. This is going to get to the good stuff. As she's been reported on a variety of DC superhero films, Warner Brothers has taken a hands-on approach to their final cut of blockbusters. So when asked about her experience working on Birds, and specifically the post-production process with WB, Yan definitely agreed that there were compromises that had to be made. Now you see it right there, the wheels on the bus going round and round, basically taking Warner Brothers for a ride, and I don't feel bad for Warner Brothers. I'm sure that they go in, I'm sure that they interfere, but at the same time, we don't see people like Kathy Yan going and taking any responsibility. Oh no, far from it. It was definitely challenging, said Yan about working on Birds of Prey. Dead Pigs was such a singular, pure version of myself, and I think when you're dealing with a budget like Birds of Prey had, and the sort of pressures of a studio, especially a studio that is undergoing a lot of change, inevitably you end up having to compromise and fight for stuff. And you win some and you lose some. It's just how it is. Again, I didn't get to make the movie that I wanted to make. I had to compromise with the studio. Hey, I didn't really think about what I was getting into before I got into it. I mean, that, like I said, says a lot, doesn't it? Continuing, I would have loved to have more control over the edit of Birds of Prey, but that's just kind of how it is. I don't know if there's a Kathy Yan cut out there, but I think for any filmmaker, all of us are in it because we want to express ourselves as wholly as possible, and to match what you've ultimately seen on screen with what's in our head. I have to say, too, I watched that movie, and I cannot imagine a cut of that movie that goes in and makes it better. Now, granted, you might get more exposition, linearly, things, they might make more sense, but at the end of the day, it's a boring movie, and boring movies are, well, they're boring. Now, she goes on to talk about David Ayer experiences on Suicide Squad, which Yan famously expressed sympathy about. Ayer has been championing the idea of recutting Suicide Squad to better fit his vision after WB reportedly interfered quite a bit and drastically changed the film in the editing room. Now, when you look at Suicide Squad, I'm not going to say that Suicide Squad was a good movie, but it is what it set out to be. You have something that's action-packed. You have something that at the end of the day you can consume popcorn to. It's not going to make your life better, and maybe there's a better version, but when it was cut down, the thing still sold. That's not what we see with Birds of Prey. That movie, it was just bad. So I do know that there was a very different tone of the movie that Ayer had planned for Suicide Squad that never really made it. And so, if he goes to show his cut or gets to take another stab at it, then that's an insanely wonderful opportunity. Asked whether her Birds of Prey experience has changed her mind about big-budget blockbusters moving forward, such as doing additional DC superhero films, Yan is unsure. If you give her a film like this, by the way, I don't know why you would. 2 films, one of them cost lots and lots of money, was an absolute failure, but hey, why don't you take the reign because of buzzwords? Yes and no, she said about the experience on Birds of Prey influencing any of her future decisions. I never did Birds of Prey in the first place so that I could say that I did a big movie or a blockbuster movie. I actually very much did it because I thought the script was interesting, and the fact that I got the chance to depict women, especially female female heroes in a way that we hadn't really seen them before, like neither perfect nor weak. I think it's typically either or really. I enjoyed the challenges of being able to subvert the genre a bit. That didn't happen, by the way. We've seen imperfect characters, period. We've seen them male, female. We've seen all of that before. We've also seen strong female characters, some of them overclocked. But hey, again, that's always the excuse. I would not discount ever doing it again. I try not to think of whether I would do this type of movie or that type of movie again, or whether I'd work with the studio or that, but more like, is the story compelling? And I'm also a writer-director, so in that case, my big lesson is that I want to continue to do that and have a bit more control over the story I'm telling. Now then it talks about another movie, so on. We're not going to go to that, by the way, but like I said, you can see no responsibility for what transpired in that movie. It has to be Warner Brothers' fault. And again, I'm not saying that they don't interfere, but looking at the decisions in that movie, oh man, that was unwatchable in some points. It was just, again, it was a boring movie. Now that being said, at least Kathy Yen is admitting this movie is a disaster. It took long enough. And you know what? Many people on social media, many mainstream media influencers, they won't do the same. They say somehow, in some way, this is success. If you look at these numbers, though, they don't lie about this. This is before the beer bug, so it's not going to be impacted by that. We see a movie with an $85 million price tag, so you need to double that output, barely making over $200 million in theaters. This, too, remember, this is just a gauge for popularity. The profit margins, you're talking about, at best, domestic bringing in 65%, international bringing in 45%, so this movie, it does not break even. Now, you saw them bring up Suicide Squad too, saying that it suffered from the same things that Birds of Prey suffered from. But despite that, people still got the type of movie they were setting out to watch. You can see that in its bottom line as well. This movie, it cost significantly more. You're talking about $175 million price tag. Again, need to make that times two. And on the popularity scale and the profitability scale, you know what? It absolutely did. This brought in almost $750 million, and that doesn't even count the home market. Now, we're also told, hey, I set out, I didn't want to make a blockbuster. Well, you know what? Another movie did that. The Joker, 2019. See, it's doing unconventional right, to the tune of over $1 billion. And if the Joker can do it, Harley Quinn definitely can, because you know what? There are a lot of people out there that love that character and would go out and see a good movie with that character again and again and again. And make no mistake, at the end of the day, Warner Brothers does deserve blame here. They took someone with no experience because they pitched a movie based on buzzwords, and they gave them $82 million, and they said, hey, why don't you go out here and fail? And you know what? They did. Now, this person, they need to take responsibility for that, but hey, that's a different thing. And me, I love to laugh at Warner Brothers these days because they can't seem to get out of their own way and just go in and do things that make money. But anyway, let me know what you think about this stuff. As always, I appreciate the heck out of you too. I mean that sincerely. You folks, you make this stuff work. And if you want to help out the channel, we have a lot of links, but our comic book, it closes right after Valentine's Day. We've gotten all the perks in. That definitely helps the channel. We can go out, make the thing we want to make, challenge industry too. It's a lot of fun. But if you just here watching videos, I appreciate the heck out of you there too. You make this thing grow. So thank you. I do appreciate you. And yeah, we will see you soon.